at our Food Delivery Summit 2025. And our first panel this afternoon is going to be talking about clicks, contacts, and conversions, or how you can make CRM and marketing work for you in your playbook. On our panel today, we have Anuti Vishal, editor, author, and food historian. Bani Nanda, chef and founder of Mayan Patisserie. Chef Kunal Kapoor. Moksha Chopra, general manager KFC India and partner countries. Nitin Saluja, CEO of Trios. Uday Pinali, CEO Abna. And Zorawar Kalra, founder and managing director, Massive Restaurants. Shahzad, all yours.
Come, there's some place here as well. Have you got everybody on stage? I think we're missing Zorawar. We're missing Zorawar, we're missing Bani. Can we have all the panelists, Zorawar and Bani? Please. Just waiting for a couple of more panelists who have to join us, and then we will get this first panel discussion underway. Can somebody please call Zorawar Kalra and Bani Nanda to come on stage as well? We're missing two panelists, Bani Nanda and Zorawar Kalra. Zorawar Kalra and Bani Nanda are there, so come, Zorawar. So welcome to the first panel discussion, NRAI Food Delivery Summit 2025. And this conversation is going to revolve around clicks, contacts, conversions, the CRM marketing playbook. As you can see, we have a wide, fantastic range of people on the panel. So let me waste no time in introducing them to you. On my left, we have Chef Kunal Kapoor, who needs no introduction, face of MasterChef and Junior MasterChef. Round of applause for Chef Kunal Kapoor. To his left, we have Anuti Vishal, a food historian, curator, editor, author, and a connoisseur of food in every sense of the word. To her left, we have Uday. Uday is the CEO of Abna, Aditya Birla New Age Hospitality. To his left, we have Pramod Aroraji, the CEO of PVR Inox Limited. And to his left, we have Bani Nanda, the chef and founder of Mayan Patisserie. And to my right, we have Moksha Chopra, GM, KFC India and partner countries. And to his right is my very dear friend, Vice President of NRAI, Zorawar Kalra, who has the onerous task of taking forward the Jigs Kalra legacy and Massive Restaurants. And let me, without any delay, begin this conversation with you, Zorawar. Zorawar, tell us about what you learned from your legendary dad, and it wouldn't be wrong for me to call him the Tsar of Indian food industry. it wouldn't be wrong, and everyone on the panel will agree that his books are the Bibles that everyone needs to read. What did you learn from him? A, about customer management, customer relationship, how to enhance it. B, how do you ensure that your customers, whether it's at your Indian restaurants, and now I see that you are having many of the restaurants open up on foreign soil, how do you ensure that the experience for those customers is at a personal level something that you've always associated with your restaurants? And C, the third part of the question is that some of the most iconic culinary destinations have been curated, have been brought to this country by your father. Whether it's Dampok, whether it's Bukhara. These are traditional restaurants. The son goes a step further and takes the gastronomical experience, pushing the boundaries and innovating. How do you take customer feedback into that while pushing the boundaries of experimenting with traditional food and then giving it the Zorawar colors?
Thank you so very much. Firstly, I apologize for being late, but I was simply doing my duties as an NRAI office bearer. There was some media outside, we have to address that. And I'm a little upset with you that you didn't grab me by my arms and like drag me along. But thank you all for being here. This is great, the first session. I think packed house, it was incredible. I walked in here at 9:30. There were already, many of you were already sitting here, and it's really, really good to see. People keep saying Delhi's always late, but obviously that's not the case in this particular case. So a big round of applause for Delhi and all of you guys. Round up. You know, a platform such as this is actually an incredible forum through which pertinent issues that affect the industry can be discussed, conversations can happen, ideas can be discussed, and information can be disseminated. This is the most illustrious panel. Some of my good friends are here. My very close brother Shahzad is going to moderate this not that easy topic to discuss. My father, Jigs Karwa, was an incredible figure. Every son has this form of, a really holds their father in very high regard. That was no different for me. I grew up in his household and I was exposed to some incredible food. Every year we used to go for a vacation somewhere around the world, and he exposed our palate to something. But what his real sense of responsibility was towards his beloved Indian food. He spent 45 years of his life documenting, recording Indian food, writing books. Prashad, the book that I think is the most famous of his works, is considered as a training manual at many of the catering colleges. What he inculcated into me, I think, the most was a sense of responsibility towards Indian food. I think Indian food is the greatest cuisine on earth. It's got a complexity, it's got a variety, it's got a culinary philosophy that's second to none. The best way to export your culture around the world is through your food. And if you want to make your culture strong and resonate around the world, do it through your food. I can't wait for the day when you go to any part of the world and one of the top 3 dining destinations in that city, anywhere in the world, should involve one good Indian restaurant. And I think we as Indians have to do this. We owe it to our beautiful culture, our tradition, a culture that's 5,000 years old, a food culture that is, I'm sure, at least that much old. And we have to do this through concerted efforts. We have to do it through opening great restaurants and through the work of great chefs like Kunal, who are going to spread the good word and make our culture fly high. Customer relationship management is essential. In fact, it's part of the culture of India. Atithi Devo Bhava, the guest is God. In not just my company, but in the natural state of things, across restaurants, across hotels of this great country, I think the guest is always considered God. And I think that's what separates Indian hospitality. I've been to restaurants, 3-star Michelin restaurants around the world, I've been to the best hotels, and I'm telling you, I never feel the warmth that I think Indian hotels and restaurants provide. It's part of our culture, the waiter, the hostess, the way you're greeted, the way you're made to sit, the way your concerns are addressed is a notch above. I think the world can learn from Indian hospitality, and customer relationship management starts with hospitality. It's very easy to say that I rely on this incredible software, and there are some great software partners here. They make our life very easy. And one of the great proponents of technology is in fact my company, because we love the use of technology and how easy it makes things. But the core of CRM has to be about putting your customer first. reaching out to them through these mechanisms, through a loyalty program, through constant engagement, through messages, through sweet little reminders to come back and enjoy their Dada Dadi's birthday or their anniversary with you. I think these are tools, but the core ethos of our great Indian hospitality industry is hospitality itself. And there's a big difference. People talk about hospitality and service. Service is simply a point of taking point A to B. So you order a drink, I go and give it to you. Hospitality is far deeper than that. It's about almost pre-cognitive in nature. It's about figuring out what you want, what temperature you liked it at, what did you have last time, how many cubes of ice you want in your Coke or your drink, and what temperature you want your sushi served. It's all of that. And that's part of the DNA of this great hospitality industry that I feel myself lucky to be a part of. The tools of CRM are absolutely there for us all to use, and we should continue using them. Your question was very long, so I'm going to jump straight to the part C, which was how my father was all about traditional food and how we've kind of tried to take things forward. I think Indian food by itself is almost perfect. The deep culinary traditions that we enjoy and the variety that we enjoy requires no improvement. That's why when we talk about confusion, we should not make it confusion. So when we tried doing a lot of new restaurants such as Farzi Cafe now in many countries around the world, hopefully adding value to the culinary landscape of those cities, we found that you have to pay homage to the authenticity of the host dish and the host cuisine. In our case, that's Indian. So you can do fusion, but don't make it confusion. Give respect to the original ingredient, to the original recipe. Don't make it taste like something that has no familiarity to the original dish. Make sure that you're using the theatrics and gimmicks, maybe, but with restraint. A lot of people just start throwing, liquid nitrogen drives everywhere. You can't do that. You have to show respect to the original dish. And the way my journey has evolved is that I still think the most repeatable food for me is literally ghar ka khana, or a really good dal makhani, a butter chicken, a nihari, a really good kofta. Real good, robust, authentic Indian food that we all grew up on. Nothing is soul food more than that traditional Indian food, and we can never ever give enough respect or enough homage to that. So even when we do our modern Indian restaurants, we always make sure that the taste is the same. It might look different, that's the illusion aspect, but it has to be authentic in taste. It has to have that core DNA, that robustness, that boldness that Indian food is so well known for. I'm so proud of our Indian food, and I think it's the greatest cuisine on earth, and I can't wait for it to be recognized at the top of the totem pole of the cuisines of the world.
Fantastic. By the end of this session, by the way, if I am salivating, it's not my fault. Everyone can hear me. Is the audio clear? Because I've just been told maybe the audio is not as clear as it can be, so the mic people want to check on that. But taking that thought forward from Zorawar, fusion, not confusion, and respect the food. Let me come to Anuti. Anuti, your books essentially describe what makes a restaurant sizzle or fizzle. So what's the secret sauce, A, to ensure that a first-time visitor gets converted into a loyal patron, point one. Point two, what Zorawar was alluding to, how do you distinguish between what's truly an experience for the customer and what's just plain marketing gimmicky thing that can turn off somebody? And three, how does storytelling play a part in building the image and the brand of the restaurant and the experience for the customer, so that he feels like going to that, or she feels like going to the restaurant over and over again?
Thank you so much. And it's really heartening to be here today because I have been watching this industry for 25 years. I started writing on food and Indian restaurants in the year 2000, when there were barely any standalone restaurants in the country, and all we had were the 5-star restaurants, and very few of them. The market was very nascent. It was in the early years of post-liberalization when, India was still discovering its economic power. Fewer people had traveled abroad, palates were not really developed, and our exposure to both Indian food and Indian regional food and global cuisines of the world was very, very nascent. So today it gives me great joy really, to be here amid all of you, and just witness this sea change and this explosion of good taste that is happening right here in our midst. Zorawar was talking about his father, the legendary Mr. Jake Stalra. And I was very fortunate to be one of the few people he really liked. I was a young writer and, I of course loved all his books. I still recommend them to everyone. But he was very fond of me too, and he would always say, Anuti Kyu Ruti.
His favorite line used to be Anuti Kyu Ruti.
So there was this personal equation, which really brings me to a much larger point, that food, people who are in the food business and in the business of restaurants, this is a space that's intensely personal. You need to have those sort of relationships. You need to have that sort of personalized storytelling. And you need to have that sort of very personal connect with everyone in the space. And, it's not something shallow, but it's a larger, I can't even call it a tool, but it's just an essential part of a larger ecosystem without which this entire restaurant space would be like Avatar, the movie, with only special effects, but no storyline and no soul. So, coming to the question of marketing and stickiness with the audience, what brings audiences back to restaurants, or what's the secret sauce between a restaurant being able to establish a brand for itself that pulls in customers and which makes it distinct from the sea of eateries which may be around it. Now, I think the hook always is storytelling, but storytelling cannot be imposed from the outside. It has to be something intrinsic to the restaurateur's vision itself. Now, in the case of Zorawar, it is a great legacy, and it is this whole vision of taking Indian food forward. For somebody else who may have, come from another culture, who may be even trying to get international food into the country, I always ask the question, what is your connect with it? What's your personal connect with it? If you're trying to bring in Italian food into the country or, Asian food into the country, do you have like a personalized narrative that first you can relate to, and it's not just a function of what XYZ is doing in the market or, what is working in the market ostensibly. But what's that personal story? Because only if you have that, does your audience really relate to what you're trying to do? And I think that's very, very key. Now, in my book, I also write, one of my hypotheses is that restaurateurs, essentially, and the most successful restaurateurs, put little bits of their personality into their restaurants and into the food that's being served up. And all through my 25 years of observing this space and commenting on this space, I think it's not a formula, but it is something intrinsic. When you say that a restaurant has soul, this is perhaps what you are sensing. Little bits of somebody's personality, who they are, which is why if a person is completely unlike a restaurant that they have opened, that restaurant is never going to be successful. And we have, very interesting restaurateurs and chefs here. Tell me if I'm wrong. Have you ever seen somebody who's opened a very, very stylish bar, but they may be teetotalers, but it's not, resonating with their personality, and they are not really that, your audience and your consumer is immediately going to sense that this is fake, and they are not going to, stick with your product. They may just come for cheap alcohol, they may just come for nachos and tacos, but will they come back? a month or two down the line? I think these are very, very important questions that we must ponder.
So let me take that question to you, Moksh, since you head a global QSR brand. One, you all have a well-established CRM playbook. How do you actually go ahead and make authentic relationships with customers? Point two is that, taking from what Anuti said, that you have to personalize the experience. Is that the reason why you all had an Indian version of Colonel Sanders and KFC Land to kind of Indianize the experience? And point number three, and you have to tell us this, what is the one recommendation or trend that your customers actually give you feedback about and you incorporated into the KFC menu? And I hope it's looking good.
Thank you. First of all, thanks Shehzad. I'm honored to be part of this panel, illustrious group and moderated by you. See, I think KFC is now about 32,000 restaurants across the world, multiple countries, but the underlying principle on loyalty and relationships is quite fundamental, which is consistent, great tasting food, good prices, delivered consistently. People come to chains for reliability and consistency. They sometimes don't like surprises. So keeping it consistent, keeping it at a good price, I think that is the basics which were there from the time of Colonel Sanders when he founded KFC. And of course, preferences of customers at a one-to-one level done when you have a few restaurants. But now when you have a scaled business, you still need to manage that relationship. And the analogy I'll use is, in today's world, relationships are physical and digital. So you have to manage relationships physically and digitally. And there are kind of four underlying principles that we use to manage the customer relationship. The first is what we call preferences. Now with the data we have, we are aware what are each customer's preferences. What is his favorite product? Anuti mentioned popcorn chicken. I think similarly we know every customer and what their favorite product is, what time of day they prefer to come, what channel they prefer. And using that, I think it's very important to we call these the 4 P's of CRM, preference being the first one. Are you giving customers messaging basis what they truly care about? Because today there is so much information thrown at customers, there is an attention deficit. So if you just send random SMSs, mass blast it, it's not going to work. We kind of target customers basis their own preferences. So I'll give you an example. Today it's the world of delivery. But we created a segment called people who prefer to come to KFC, to the restaurant and dine in. And we sent them an offer. And we found that actually incremental sales there were 14% higher. Even though they were kind of, the world is moving to delivery, but we only targeted dine-in customers. So similarly, real-time targeting. So we have customers who, they checked out of the cart and they added to cart and they left the app. Within 20 minutes, the system was able to figure that out and they sent a follow-up message on the product that they chose, and there was a 90% conversion. So if you can use data smartly to know what people's preferences are, I think that is likely to manage the relationship better, otherwise everything is spam, So I think that's the first P. The second P that we talk about is personalization. Anuti, you spoke about personalization. So it's quite interesting. We have millions of customers, but we now have the ability to target customers with individual names because we know their names. And we send a WhatsApp or an SMS with the individual name, we see almost a 40% increase in conversion, responses to the SMS. So, if you send it with the name, like any of us, if I send it with, Shehzad, your name versus a general offer, people respond much better. If you use emojis, if you use, little symbols, etc., make it very conversational, like you would talk to a friend, that's how people respond. So I think it's important to know your customer, personalize the content, and people will respond better. The third P we talk about now is private. Like any other relationship, it has to be private. You have to respect the privacy of this relationship. We do have customer information, but we keep it very secure. It's with their consent. If there is a DND, we will not send content to them, and we will protect the data to the highest technology standards. So data has to be handled responsibly if you want customers to value the relationship, and we really prioritize privacy of information and data. So that's the third P. And the fourth is quite interesting that we're learning now, which is partners. So, we have a set of loyal users who really love and understand KFC as a brand. So every time we develop a new product or a concept, the first people we reach out to them are them. We send them an email with a concept and say, hey, what did you think about it? We call them for early tasting listing of products. So what happens is our dearest customers know the brand well enough to keep us guided, and what they tell us is quite predictive of the reality that happens in future. So that's really how we manage the relationship. Like any other relationship we have, it is based on their preferences, it is very personalized, it is very private, and it is also used as a partnership to co-create and grow the business together. So that's really what I would call the new world of CRM. The principles are the same, but technology is used to manage this at a large scale. So I think if that helps to answer the question.
Thank you, Moksha. And next time you want to reach out for early tasting, you know whom to call. Anyway, having said that, talking about personalization, let me go on to somebody who I think in the panel represents a confluence of science and art. She studied science, but she's an artist at heart, and all her pastries scream work of art. So, Bani, please tell me that how does, in the era of personalization and hyper-personalization, how does a growing patisserie like yours contend with that, point number one? Point number two, and I'm confessing I'm a die-hard Mian patisserie fan, but half of the times I bought Mian's pastries was because I was rooting for Bani. So how important is the chef's voice in building this loyalty of the customer and through content and through CRM? And point three is that how do you manage, you know, the one thing you notice about pastries are obviously very delicious, but the packaging, it almost has an artisanal vibe to it, you know, a very boutique-ish vibe to it. How do you manage that while ensuring that the price point is such that you're catering to a larger segment of orders? All 3 points. And now you know you have to send me free pastries for this question.
Thank you for having me here. I think the last event I complained to Thomas and I told him, Thomas, there are no women on these panels. So he, I think, put my name forward, and he's not here himself, but I'm happy to be here. Also, I was very young. I think Niam had just started, and Shahzad messaged me on Instagram, and I went to my father and asked, like, is this the spokesperson, and oh, this is some fake account, like I was like, this celebrity has messaged me, but we bumped into each other in Jaipur. I was like, yeah, you're a real person, and you are real now, you're sitting here. So when I started Niam 10 years ago, it was from my parents' home. I was a home baker, and customization and customer interaction was key, and it was the only tool that I had. I didn't have a physical space, and I feel like it was very organic. I also had no idea what I was doing, and that actually helped me shape the brand, because I kept saying no. Like, can you make a fondant cake? I would say no. And it really helped me shape my style and carve out the market, and then convince people that no, you need to try this, and this is different, and this has a piece of my heart and a piece of my soul in it. And like Anuti said, it's the personality. So the entire artisanal facade that Niam holds, of course, we need to, I always have to sit in meetings, and I'm answerable to things like food cost, and I don't quite understand the back end bits of it, but I'm answerable. But I also feel like there is storytelling. People are following my journey. It's not, we actually have not onboarded CRM softwares. It's managed in-house currently. People will still message me saying, you did this onto me, but I didn't like this element. And then I won't sleep at night, because I'll go and I'll fix that element. So it's still very personal. I like it this way. Because I don't have a physical outlet, I am connected to my customers. I think also building a voice and a personality on Instagram, which was a free tool. It still is a free tool. But 10 years ago, I was very, very active. I would post 5 times a day. Now they tell me to post once in 3 days. Those algorithms weren't in place. So I think people started, they started following me. They started understanding where I come from, how I carve out a vision for my menus, and it is personal. I'll give an anecdote. I think 5 years ago we were pivoting from it was COVID times. We just pivoted to proper online deliveries via Pitch. They are partners at the event today. And there was this lady. She was livid. She was like, my order's 3 hours late, and I'm going to leave it on the road. Okay, she said that to my manager. I also don't like it when people are not nice to my team. So I was like, kaise, I called up that lady. She didn't answer me. I went to her house. I rang her bell. She couldn't believe it. She's like, "Aap owner ho aur aap ghar aa gaye mere." I'm like, "Yeah, I have your address and don't leave my pastries on the door." She called me in. She made me sit down. We had tea. And obviously you can't do this with every customer. But I said, "I'm very sorry. Things are haphazard, they're festivals, it's Rakhi time." And she couldn't believe that, "Beta, tum owner ho aur tum mere ghar aake baith gaye." I'm like, "Yeah, I really care." And I think that can be instilled, you can translate that to how you speak and what your voice is for your brand, how your team is trained, how my manager will handle a complaint, with how much poise and grace they will handle a complaint. I mean, they won't say कि शायद बात नहीं आ रही वो बात करेगी आपके घर में, but I think you really need to care, and I still feel like these automated tools might not match up to that framework that you can give your business, and that personalization that you can give your business. The packaging bit, you said that you like my packaging, but now I don't like it, so I'm changing everything. We're going through a rebranding exercise, so it matters. My customers will see that sticker. They will see that. They will know that I have spent 5 meetings with the designers to approve one sticker that goes on the box because I care. It's not just the cake. It's not just the elements, it's not just the kitchen. I really care what that sticker looks like. So it's this, my husband, he's also a business partner, he'll be like, you're crazy, and like we don't, sometimes it's just a sticker, or we can't, have a packaging, our gift box cannot be 800 rupees. I'm like, it can be 800, we charge, no aage, we charge. So again, there also has to be a balance. I'm too whimsical, I'm too much of a dreamer. But I think somewhere people hop onto that authenticity and they really give you a chance and they come back again and again. Yeah.
That's lovely, Bani. Uday, taking this forward, Abna's approach has been data-driven, and you've always advocated for keeping your ears close to the ground when it comes to what guests really want. So, couple of questions. One, before you expand to uncharted territories, new domains, new platforms, how do you get yourself to be sure-footed that this is what the customer wants? And what is the sign or the warning signals? Because you mentioned this, that a brand can become too exclusive or too unapproachable. So how do you strike the right balance between luxury and warmth, and how do you take customer feedback on board for getting to that conclusion?
Am I audible? Great. Thanks. First of all, thanks to NRAI and the esteemed panel for allowing me to be on this. I'm greatly privileged. So, great question, Shailat. So, on the first question of how do we ensure that we get our footing to be sure when we are entering or approaching a new cuisine, a new territory, a new city, or a new brand. I think there is no replacement to old-fashioned feet on the ground hard work. I think it's very, very important to go to your consumer, go to your market, spend time right there with them, go street to street, restaurant to restaurant, table to table, and understand what exactly takes and what the consumer wants. Because that's the holy grail for us in hospitality, maybe any consumer industry, but for hospitality, extremely critical to really have clear, deep understanding of what does your consumer really want. because oftentimes what you're selling and what they're buying can be two different things. And hence it becomes very important to know, are they there for the experience? Are they there for the food? Are they there for the nostalgia? Is it a celebration place? Are they looking for a kind of food where they want to go to every other day so that it becomes a meal for them? So it's very important. I'll give you a very specific example that none of our brands are currently present in Delhi NCR. And it's a very important market obviously because there are a lot of conversions of the kind of brands that we have in our portfolio, whether it's categories like Hakasan, Yavacha or Thai like Nara and so on and so forth. We actually came and we must have spent collectively between about 5 of us, including my operations head, strategy head, and my marketing head, and including me, going to tons and tons of restaurants on weekdays, on weekends, to just see how does Delhi eat. And it is so different from Mumbai. And there's difference between how Delhi eats and how Gurgaon eats, and how Noida eats. And whether it's portion sizes, whether it's presentation, whether it is, there's brands where, and I'm kind of segueing into the second part of the answer. So the first part, broadly, I'll sum it up by saying that while we can use a lot of other elements around it, I think the most important thing is to be on the ground with the consumers to understand what is it that they really want. And hence, obviously, then you collect all of this data and then you try to synthesize it and see that, okay, and hence, how do I bring this within my brand framework? I mean, Pani made some excellent points, as did Zorawar and everything. You have to be obsessed about your brand. I don't think there's another way around it. You have to be very, very clear that who are you, what do you stand for, and what will you root for. Because the moment you start departing is when the consumer also starts losing you. They don't understand who you are, and you can't be everything for everyone. And hence, as I go towards the second part of the question, second question, it says that then how do you, will you remain too exclusive? Will you lose your approachability? Will you lose your warmth? And the question is, for example, a brand like Yavacha had in its overall look and feel manual a lot of metal. But we understand that Delhi temperatures can be extreme, and when you have a metal hand armrest, it can become too cold within an AC, or if you are in an al-fresco area, it can become too hot. I can't do that. You go back to the principle and you help them understand how does India operate, what is this geography about, what works, what doesn't work. A lot of times, and again, no holy grails, but 4 is not necessarily a auspicious number in the Oriental philosophy. That is why you won't find a lot of times baskets of 4 dim which is why there's only 3. But 3 is too small a portion size for Delhi, and who eats 3? Everybody right? Then you go back and you talk to them, help them understand. 3 won't work, I do 6, 9, whatever it is. That is how you might want to stay within your brand's boundaries, but you can't stay away from your consumer. You will do whatever it takes to try and adapt within those boundaries. The boundaries are sacrosanct, but a higher order reality or something that's more sacred to us is consumer delight, that customer experience. And we also see this by the way that food is very personal, food is very emotional, food is what we grow up with. And many times, there's a great example of some investment bankers, proper, these the South Indian Tamil types who did their, MBAs, etc., came back with accents. And they said, where are you from really? And they said, yeah, we're from, West Coast and so on. Someone asked them, what do you have for breakfast? They said, we had idli. There you go. That is who you are. What you have for your food, what you have for breakfast, what your comfort food is who you are. And hence, while I might walk into a restaurant wanting this very exclusive, great experience, but when you can connect with them at the level of the food, of why they like the food that they're eating and what it means to them, is when you can become far more approachable. And hence, your service sequence can be scripted, but the expression of it, you leave it to your server. But then, if the person is more comfortable in the local language, so be it. English is not necessarily everyone's first language or a language that everyone connects in. That's fine. And if it's English, so be it. So there are parts of the experience which you keep within boundaries and scripted, but the expression of it is what we are very rapid about keeping warm and approachable. I think these are some of the thoughts that I would say.
Speaking about approachability, I think that the gentleman sitting on my left would have had a better career in politics than in the restaurant industry. Simply because before we came up with Har Ghar BJP, he came up with Kunal in the kitchen. And he came up with a chef in every home. So, Kunal, tell me your massive presence on television. Night after night, you're on our television screens, you're in our bedrooms, you're in our kitchen, you're on our phone, you have social media presence. How does that social media combination translate into real world customer loyalty? And how much is too much? How would you say? What would you say?
Thank you. So, I think it's very simple. It's not about me being out there on television or me being out there on social media or any platforms. I think there was a time that couple of years, 10, 15 years back when the trend started, when every person on a certain field who had a certain authority or was known for that field got shown. But वो time निकल गया है. Now, if you have talent, आपके पास talent है, आपके पास एक मोबाइल फोन है जिसमें इंटरनेट चलता है, आप उस प्लेटफॉर्म पर अपने टैलेंट को अगर दिखाते हैं तो वो एप्रिशिएट करने के लिए बहुत होता है. But one of the things is that if you have spent years on a certain trade, for example, me, I've spent last 25 years in this trade. So you automatically have a certain value perception from your viewers. तो अगर मैं पॉलिटिक्स की बात करूंगा तो आप मुझे सीरियसली नहीं लेंगे शायद, लेकिन अगर मैं खाने की बात करूंगा, मैं इंग्रेडिएंट की बात करूंगा, आप मुझे सीरियसली लेंगे. Because you build over the years a certain confidence with your customer, your fan base, or people that you have never seen and probably will never even meet in your life on social media, who follow you because you put yourself out there with your thoughts, with your recipes, with your innovation or with your thought process, which they may agree or may not agree, but they still listen to what you are saying, builds a certain followership. So tomorrow, if I was to open an XYZ restaurant or a new startup or a project, I already have a very strong following who then knows automatically from my one single or two or four or five posts that Acha Kunal has opened something. So there is a certain loyalty. Also, it's not about just speaking up. It's about how much of gravitas you have, how much of research, how much of knowledge that you provide or you bring onto the table. It could be knowledge, it could be fun, it could be something interesting, it could be certain business ideas, it could be my failures or my success story. You don't know what people connect to or will connect to, and that builds over the years, over some period of time, a certain confidence in you as an individual. And when I say you, मतलब मैं अपनी भी बात कर रहा हूँ, आपकी भी बात कर रहा हूँ, आप भी हैं, आप में से भी कई लोग ऐसे जिनकी massive following है, right? So ये एक चीज है जो आगे बढ़ती है. But once you have that, you become a certain voice, you become a certain face, then there is a certain confidence in you. Like शहजाद साहब जब बात करते हैं टेलीविजन पे, जो बोलते हैं कन्विक्शन के साथ बोलते हैं, तो हम वेट करते हैं कि अब इनकी बारी कब आएगी, अब ये क्या बोलेंगे, तो हम सुनते हैं. We take it very seriously what he says, because he has that amount of time, effort, research, study done on the topic that he is talking. तो ये एक then मैं आज पहली दफा इनसे मिला, बट मैंने इनको सुबह मैसेज करके कहा कि I follow you, मैं आपको देखता हूँ टीवी पे. It's such an honor to meet you in person. It will be such an honor to meet you in person. So now, this is how things multiply, and these are these baby steps that you need to take. So whatever business that you're doing, जो भी आपका business है, चाहे like she started my tasting, which I'm a big fan, मैंने बहुत weight gain किया. अब मैं नहीं खाता क्योंकि मेरे को weight lose करना है. Nothing wrong with your product, but just that brilliant product. She started with a humble घर पर मामा पापा की घर पे किचन में अपना business start किया और देखा आज काम पर पहुंचे. So it's all about एनकैशिंग. आपके पास इंटरनेट और फोन है तो आपके पास सबसे बड़ी इन्वेस्टमेंट आपकी जेब में बैठी है. हाउ डू मोनेटाइज इट, हाउ डू यू extract the maximum out of it is in your own hands, and you have examples enough, right? And then talking about chefs, also I would like to highlight, like restaurants में तो chefs have become the focal point, but even in dark kitchens you could have chefs talking about the product because they come with a certain conviction, they come with a certain knowledge about the product that they're talking about. जैसे अगर कोई वो आता है ना, जैसे ऑल ऑफ अ सडन कुछ वो चलता है कि हेल्थ के ऊपर जैसे भी चल रहा है फेक पनीर फेक पनीर फेक पनीर फेक पनीर. So all of a sudden it's become a trend. Everybody is going with the iodine bottle. डाला, अब आपको नॉलेज है उसके बारे में नहीं है, क्या आपको उसके पीछे की साइंस पता है कि नहीं है, कि भाई उसके अंदर कितना कार्ब लगा हुआ था, उस पनीर में क्या क्या अब्सॉर्ब किया था कि वो आयोडीन कर रहा है. बट आप चल रहे हो तो बस चल रहे हो, राइट? वो फॉलो कर रहे हो तो फॉलो कर रहे हो. बट व्हेन अ सर्टेन अथॉरिटी टॉक्स अबाउट इट एंड ब्रेक्स इट डाउन फॉर यू, then it just becomes easier for you to understand. Not every paneer is fake, बाबा. ऐसा नहीं है. उसको ब्रेडिंग करी थी, कोटिंग करी थी, कार्ब्स लगे थे, कार्ब्स फटाफट टर्न हो जाते हैं. पनीर ने एब्जॉर्ब कर लिया, वो कितनी देर मैरिनेट पड़ा था, वो हम कुछ नहीं सोचते. हमने देखा किसी ने लिया, थोड़ा डाला, वेटिंग खत्म हो गया. So there's a whole lot of misinformation also that we follow, but I'm not going there. What I'm trying to say is that you have to spend that much time of amount in your trade with a lot of passion and conviction. And let me tell you, spending a lot of time in trade comes with a very big thing, a lot of failures. And with those failures, you learn. आप सबसे ज़्यादा जो कहते हैं ना एक्सपीरियंस, तो फेलियर का एक्सपीरियंस आपको जो सिखाता है ना, वो कोई किताब, कोई इंसान आपको नहीं सिखा सकता. तो आपको कूदना पड़ेगा उसके अंदर और फिर वहाँ से अपनी स्टोरी, अपना नैरेटिव, अपना थॉट प्रोसेस निकालकर उस चीज को आपको आगे बढ़ाना पड़ेगा. एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट फॉलोइंग व्हिच इज ऑन सोशल मीडिया, द डिजिटल assets that I call, percolates into whatever business or passion that you seriously follow. It's a given. And if your product starts speaking for itself, then it's perfect. वो कहते हैं ना, वो तालमेल बैठ गया. जो आपने बात कही कि बाकी में ऐसा 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 ऑर्गेनिक है, टेस्टी है, फ्रेश है, क्रिस्पी है, और वही डिलीवर हुआ, वही खाया, तो वो सर्कल जैसे आप कंप्लीट करते हैं, which is a very difficult task because there are various elements when it comes to dark kitchens to kind of join those ends. Because जब मेरे कस्टमर मेरे रेस्टोरेंट में बैठे घर पे, अगर हम यहाँ से निकला, वहाँ से 10 सेकंड में उसकी टेबल पे उसने खाया, मैंने फीडबैक दिया, ब्रिलियंट. But you have to plan in advance. You have to do a lot of different checks before you kind of zero in. This is the packaging. This is. It's not about the packaging looking fancy. It has to be functional. So there are many things, many ups and downs. You have to kind of experience yourself before you jump into this business, or you start into this business, or even when you start, you kind of go with the flow, make mistakes and learn and correct. And honesty always works. If I do a blunder, or if there is a mistake on my team's part, I'm the first one to call up and say, hey, I'm sorry. Oh no, but you're master chef. मेरा ठीक है, इंसान की गलती तो मुझसे भी होती है, मेरी टीम से भी होती है, हो जाता है. And हमारा ट्रेड ना मशीनों से नहीं बनता, हाथों से बनता है. और हाथ कहाँ से जुड़े? यहाँ दिमाग से, फीलिंग से. So it's very personal. It's not कि एक स्टैम्प मारी है, डाई आई, उसने काटा, उसका खाना बनाया और आपका निकल गया. It is very personal. It's an extension of what your thoughts. So ऊपर नीचे हो जाता है. But when you own it up and you complete the circle and make sure the next time it's not repeated, circle is completed. So that's how you kind of maintain integrity even when you're not doing well, or even when you're faltered on social media or whichever channel. Your integrity is very important to own up. That's what.
Now from the small screen moving to the big screen, and we have Pramod ji from PVR Inox, and he almost feels like the Congress panelist on a Republic debate waiting for his turn to speak. But we have come to you before Arnab comes to the Congress guest, but I'm just saying it in a lighter note. Arnab, don't take offense. So what he was saying, customer के साथ तालमेल बिठाना है. And essentially, ये मशीन का नहीं, ये मनुष्य का relationship building है. But today, when we are living in an AI app-driven world, is that actually helping in customer building, or is that actually hampering because it denies the physical experience? So I'm saying, say it from the perspective of your own establishment, but also all the numerous other establishments that you give space to. Is AI and apps actually helping in the task of customer relationship management, or do you see it's a long-term challenge?
So, thank you very much for having me here. Perhaps I am the odd one out amongst the culinary experts, the luminaries, the business visionaries in the food trade out here. So, let me answer this from a very naive or from a very personal perspective out here, because, my take would have very limited connects out there. So, when you look at this business, one thing that comes up is the world is becoming increasingly complex. You have shorter attention spans. You are living in a world which is defined by insta-shot of reels that each one of us ends up consuming in the morning. The diminishing brand loyalties are a reality. The expanding universe of brands in this diminishing brand loyalty is also a reality. Now in all this looks like a very complex problem to have. But technically, if you look at it, few things remain consistent. Food remains to remain and would always remain the biggest network that human mankind ever had. That's the biggest network that you can have. And people eat from their eyes. That too is a reality. That's why we talk about experiences around food. Now, if you if you basically join these dots well, become the darling of your consumer, decide your TAM, which is your total addressable market. This is a very simple yet a toxic combination. It's a very simple yet a very toxic combination. All this buzzword, and I appreciate because I listened to her very, very intently. The buzzwords around CRM, the buzzwords around technology, whether it is food technology or whether it is information technology, is very commoditized. I mean, it's dime a dozen, available at every nook and corner of this country, which has been reigning supreme in terms of technology from the southern part of the country now to the northern part of the country. All available. Available at a pittance, available dime a dozen, available at every nook and corner, and that does include, including artificial intelligence. Because had artificial intelligence got to reign supreme over intelligence, mankind would be finished. Mankind would always remain above in, artificial intelligence. So my take is very simple. It's like a PPT formula. Be passionate, be pure, be true to yourself, to your customers, and to your food. If you do that, things should go right. And most of the panelists, in their own way, have suggested this thing that machines cannot replace hands. It's the love that is there alongside within my food, and many such things. What I can relate to is that in this highly commoditized world, do not bother too much about technology, do not bother too much about CRM. All these things are commoditized, which can be gained, which you can buy. They are purchasable commodities. What is not purchasable is what you do. And that is the formula, which is your passion, your purity, and your trueness to your food, to yourself, and to your customers. The moment you're able to do that, things should turn out to be right.
So as you can see, I reserved the best for the last, and you summed it up in a very, very beautiful way. But let me tell you, you're not the odd man out. In fact, food is not just about satisfying hunger. Food is an experience. You don't remember anybody coming and telling you that on that particular day I had food and I felt filled. You feel the experience, you say comfort food. That's because you feel a sense of comfort, whether it's the emotional bond you have with your family when you had that meal, or it's the emotional bond with a friend that you recollect. So it's never about the hunger, it's actually about the experience. And food is cinema on plate. And you begin the experience with your visual journey. So I think cinema, food, all of these are actually people who are giving you experiences on a plate. So it's no different than cinema actually. So thank you very much for a very, very engaging, insightful, deep conversation. I don't know if I did justice to my role as an anchor, and if I did, then I have a job after I'm no longer doing this podcast. Thank you very much. Once again, give a round of applause to all these creators of magic in Institute for the Great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Zorawar. Thank you, Mohan. Thank you, Kunal. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
And Shehzad, thank you from my end for actually finishing off bang on time. And to felicitate the panel, could I call Manpreet Singh, the Honorary Treasurer and Director of KS Hotels. Okay, just a reminder of our panel. Anuti Vishal. Kunal Kapoor. Bani Nanda.